LED KLN is a student organization at the University of Carolina operating with the intention of grooming our undergraduates into professionals. So at LED, we provide our members with the skills and the competencies that they need to have when entering into the corporate world. Business School 2022 is another initiative of LED KLN this year, which is specifically designed for the undergraduates who their careers with input from the corporate world. This is an open invitation for you guys. Stay tuned with LED and join with us. You will get the best experience in your life regarding career guidance. And stay safe.
A very good evening, everyone. Here, in this wonderful evening, we are going to mark the beginning of one of the biggest events of the year organized by LED KLN, the Business School 2022. I'm Shamindri Kasturiarachi, the moderator for today's session. First of all, let us have a brief idea about LED and the Business School. LED KLN is a student-run body that operates with the concept of leadership, empowerment, and development. The main motto of LED is to open up more and more paths for undergraduates to reduce the gap between the corporate world and them. As another step towards the main motto, here we are ready to cut the ribbon to begin the Business School 2022. Business School consists of mainly 3 phases. The first phase consists of a series of sessions called Know Your Way on IT, Management, Humanities and Social Science, and Entrepreneurship. The second phase, we focus on CV and e-portfolios, career growth, and how to face an interview. As the final stage of business school in phase 3, we have allocated a day for you to face mock interviews in front of well-known personalities from the corporate world. So, as the first session of phase 1, we are about to experience Know Your Way in IT. So, before moving further to commence the event officially, I would like to invite our dearest member, Netmini, to welcome the guest speaker and the enthusiastic participants who are gathered here today. So, Netmini, it's over to you.
Thank you, Shamintri. Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad and honored to be here to welcome you all for this wonderful evening. First, on behalf of LED KLN, I would like to warmly welcome our guest speaker for today, Mr. Iroshan Aberatna, Senior Lecturer, Faculty of Technology, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. He has years of industry and research experience in data science, machine learning, computational modeling, and software engineering with state-of-the-art technologies and concepts. Welcome to the session, sir. Then our strength, our backbone, and our motivators. The Executive Board of LED KLN, we warmly welcome you for the session with all respect. Finally, on behalf of the Organizing Committee of Business School 2022, I would like to welcome all the enthusiastic participants who are here today to experience this wonderful evening. So without wasting our valuable time, let's move to the informative session. We assure you that you all will be thankful to yourselves for participating in this event in the end of this session. Over to you, Shamindri.
Thank you, Netmini, for that warm welcome. Without wasting your valuable time, let us begin the informative session. At the same time, we kindly request you to mute yourself so that the session won't be interrupted. We have allocated a time for the Q&A session at the end so that you can ask any question you're having. So dear sir, it's over to you.
Right. Thank you very much, student. I think I'm audible, right?
Yes sir.
Okay, good. So let me share my screen first. And hope you can see my screen as well, right?
Yes sir. Yeah.
Good, very good. So very good evening, all of you. And actually, I very much thankful you all to ask me to continue this session. So as per the introduction, actually right now I'm working as a senior lecturer at Faculty of Technology, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Prior to that, actually, I was in the industry. I have been in industry for more than 7 years of time in various fields. I started my career as a developer, not a developer, actually QA engineer. After that, became a developer. After that, moved to the data science area, machine learning, and so on and so forth. So we'll discuss this career path with your questions. And as per the today's session, know your way to IT or in the IT, whatever. You can use whatever the proposition. Anyhow, do you know the way to move to IT professional? That's what simply we are going to discuss today, right? So actually, as we schedule, we do have a Q&A session as well, but it's free to, if you have any question, anytime you can pause me and ask any question, because I would like to rather go into lecture. I would like to discuss with you all, because you all have most of you have actually questions, because I think you all are finally a student and about to graduate. Then you all have much more questions. Then it is better to ask them, right? So, okay, then let's start at our presentation. So actually you all are familiar with this thing, right? But in order to initiate the session, I put this slide. What is information technology, right? You all are familiar, any person who are in the late 60, late 70, right now they know what is information technology. Most of this information technology topic came into the picture most probably with this COVID pandemic situation as well. Right now, also this Zoom platform, this one actually this was initiated, I think early 2000. Anyhow, no one used this Zoom technology up to this level, which means this COVID pandemic situation. Then you all know this computer science, information technology, information and communication technology, all these are interrelated each other. Then simply we can say that information technology, there are two things. One is information, another one is technology, right? In the technology perspective, mainly we are interacting with the computers and smart devices. Then there are some technical terms, keywords. Actually, I just borrow this definition from Wikipedia. I just want to give you some explanation on that, right? Then they say create, process, store, retrieve, and exchange all kind of electronic data and information using computers. Not only actually computers, but also other devices as well, right? So information technology is the place where you can store everything in digital media, and we use them in various way. We implement them in various way. That's what information technology, right? Then I use this IT term instead of information technology, right? Then who's the IT professional? That's the problem, right? You want to be a IT professional? If so, you should have idea about who's a IT professional, right? There are various definitions, where there are various terms. Anyhow, the general concept where a person working in the field of information technology, that's a simple term, because we discuss what is the information technology, right? Anyone who can be a software developer, who can be a network administrator, who can be a person who is working on the communication. He's also using internet and other things in the information technology tools and things. Any person who is interacting with this digital medium using computers or whatever the devices, smart devices, over the internet or any other medium, to manage the data, process data, store data, retrieve data, and everything. So that's what actually we call IT professional, right? But we can actually narrow down the area IT professional with respect to your domain. I know you all are undergraduate in various universities in Sri Lanka, especially KLN and other universities. So in your context, to be a IT professional, or simply most of the time in IT professional, they refer as a software engineers, or in the technical terms like a network admin or DevOps engineer or cloud computing professional, or these are very narrow areas. Anyhow, most of the people are familiar with the term software engineer, right? So anyone actually, the day we were studying, which means we were in A levels or O levels time, actually that software engineers are not much popular, right? But there were civil engineers and electrical and electronic engineers and mechanical engineers, chemical engineers somehow. But software engineers were not much popular. But after 2010 and to this 2020, this 10 years of time, there is a not dramatical, drastic change happen. Then there are number of universities delivering this computer science related or IT related or computer engineering related degrees. Then there are a number of students. Then let me know you that what are the basic things that you should have once you are engaging with this IT field, right? It's open to the discussion. If you have any question, any clarification, just raise, right? Then basically I categorize them into these 5 areas, but there are many more. There are many more, right? I just want to let you know that these are the areas that you have to keynote. So basically, basic competency skills like reading, writing, it is must, and computation. You all are familiar with computation, the terms computation, right? And the numeracy, which means some mathematical things to be happen, right? In the IT field, you have to work in. You all know that that people who are specialized in networking or especially in the software engineering side, there are many more things happen with this mathematics. Actually, initially this computer science or computers were invented to perform this computational or mathematical operations much faster than the human, right? That's what actually these computers came into the picture, into the world. Then this reading and writing, it is not only in the Sinhala medium or Tamil medium, but the international recognition goes to English, whether you are willing or unwillingly. We have to do it. Then the reading, writing, and computation and everything you must have basically. Then the second one is adaptability. I use this term adaptability because it's somewhat relative. We are unable to say exactly this is what the level that we are expecting, especially problem solving, decision making, and creative thinking. It's totally subjective, right? There can be so many people. There can be so many people who has much interest in the creative thinking, like. But some people who are not creative thinkers, but their decision is very good. They can think far away and they can make the decision prior to something happen. And there are some people who can solve the problem very quickly, which means their IQ and the logical operation happening inside their brain is much faster, right? There are various kind of people. Then you have to think in which category you are in right now. It is better to have all these things, but it is not possible. I know that, right? But if you are a person who have a vast array of skills, adaptability skills, definitely you will have better opportunities as well. Then, as I said, these communication skills. Communication in the sense people are thinking that talking, not only talking, oral is a one. Anyhow, you should be a good listener. Once you are working in the industry or any company or any organization or any other society, even in your home, you should be a good listener, right? Without getting the information or data, don't make any decision prior to that. There can be much more data, much more information. Thus, you have to listen first. Then you should be a good listener, especially once you are working in the industry, dealing with the clients, dealing with the top management. It is must. Oral should be there. And another thing is you should be a good presenter. You should have the ability to present the things. Most of the student, I have personally know that most of the student, they have good knowledge. They have problem solving skills, decision making skills. They are good creative thinkers. They have ability. Anyhow, they are unable to present them. Once you are facing an interview, within this 10 to 20 minutes, you should have to showcase your talent. You should have to present them. And once you are recruited into a company, most of the time you have to do presentations, you have to communicate with your clients, even your team. Then you have to show what you have done so far. How do you approach it? And things like that. That's how other people can evaluate you. Otherwise, you will be an idle person, right? Then oral listen as well as you should be a good presenter, right? Then the fourth one, development skills. You should be a self-understanding and self-motivations, which means you should have understand what are the strength, weaknesses that you have. In management, I think that's called SWOT analysis, SWOT. Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strength and weaknesses are inside you. You have to identify what are the strength that you have. Then you have to identify, definitely you have to identify what are the weaknesses that you have. Rather than identifying strength, it is better to identify the weaknesses first, so that you can improve your strength based on these weaknesses. Then opportunities and threats are outside you. It is in the environment. In our context, it would be in your industry. Then you have to identify what are the opportunities, what are the available opportunities. But in my perspective, you should look into the opportunities that are not available right now, but in 5 years of time. What happened in 5 years of time? That's what you have to think. That's what you have to feasible. That's what you have to identify as opportunities. The same way, you have to identify the threats as well, which are comes from industry, which means environment, right? Then the final one, group effectiveness skills. It's obvious. There is no any debate. There should be interpersonal skills, no doubt. You can work alone. That total fine. There are freelancers. They are working alone. But if you want to make a good career path, you want to make something to this society, you want to be a good professional, you should have interpersonal skills, team working. This session is also organizing some team, right? Without having a team, it is difficult to do something. But there are advantages as well as disadvantages as well. Anyhow, you should be a good team player. You should have ability to work alone as well as with the team. And negotiation, especially negotiation, you have to be in tactful way. You should be strategic person. Once you are engaging with the industry, you should have ability to think strategically. Otherwise, there will be much more problems once you are engaging with the industry. So these are the basic things, right? Other than that, there are much more. I just open the session to the discussion. Based on this, you can raise any question. You can make the discussion further. We will discuss, right? Then I think this would be better for you. Some available pathways in IT industry. This is also as previous, there are much more. I just identify in the software engineering field basically, because most of you are engaging with the software engineering side and basically IT related jobs. Then you all know this business analyst, project managers, UI UX designers, software development, DevOps engineers, software quality assurance engineers, so cybersecurity and network engineers, and data science, AI, IoT, blockchain. There are many more things. Then the business analysis perspective, if you are go with the software engineering track, when we are developing a system, we should have requirements, right? Collecting this requirement and managing them in the proper way is being handled by this business analyst. They are the one who dealing with end user or the client, in other words. They are collecting this raw information or the raw requirement, and they convert into the technical requirement like SRS document and other things. Then project managers are involved in this process, and they are finalizing this project timeline, milestone, and everything, the deliverables. Then it's somewhat of a track. Most of the time, the people who are working in the business analysis or project management side, they should be a good communicator. They should have better communication skills, especially in English, written as well as spoken skills. Because most of the time they have to engage with the meetings, they have to collaborate with the end users, client, top management, as well as development teams. Then they should be a good communicators, right? Then once we come to this second over, like UI UX designers, UI in the sense user interface, UX in the sense user experience. The former days, actually before 10 to 12 years of time, there was no such roles. Right now also it's emerging. There are people who are the one developing or designing the front end, which means user interfaces. Once we are engaging with the software or website, web application, or whatever the things, there is a UI. That is the place where end user is engaging with. If it is not user friendly, whole product in vain. That totally happened. There are hundreds of thousands of examples for that, right? Then UI UX is a very key area. In that case, you should be a creative thinker. You should have ability to imagine the perspective of the normal user. Simply says that UI UX engineer should think this software will use a person who has the literacy to use just a computer. He doesn't have much more experience or any other ability to use computers in the effective way. Anyhow, they should be a just layman. Then very simple 1 to 2 clicks, the things should be happen. Otherwise, it should be useless. Then based on the user experience, user interfaces should be designed. Then the other overview, all are familiar software development things, right? There are software developers, software engineers, 2 tracks. Then there are various categories, and that the new coming things that's called DevOps engineers. The people who have ability to code as well as working with other deployment processes. In those days, actually, we have separate team to implementation engineers. Those are called implementation engineers. Once we are developing the system, then we train these implementation engineers to do the rest of the thing, which means that deployment them in the in-house server or in the cloud environment or whatever. But right now, what we are having is we are just automate everything using these CI/CD pipelines like Jenkins, using remote repositories like Bitbucket, GitHub, or whatever. Then cloud computing paradigms like Amazon Web Services, Azure, and IBM Cloud, GCP, there are much more. Then everything can be automated. Then DevOps engineers are the one who engage with them, especially you all are familiar. I think most of you know these terms like Dockers and Kubernetes. How do we maintain them? Everything can be handled using these DevOps engineers. That's the responsibility of their job role, right? Then the software quality assurance engineers. Once we are developing a system, there are software quality assurance engineers, right? They have actually those days, previously they named as testers, software testers, but they are not just testers. They are doing the quality assurance, which means they have to assure the quality of the final product. Then they should be the term, not the testers. They should be engineers. Then they are performing whether the software or application is aligned with the specification, right? Then there are basically two categories: manual testers as well as automate testers or QA engineers. And there are many more subcategories as well: performance testing, regression testers, and who else? Uh, there are other categories: performance and UI testings, and many more. Then this cybersecurity network admin, these are the people who engage with this network side, right? Then cybersecurity, especially this information retrieval processes, firewall handling, and everything. There are many more areas in the cybersecurity and network admin as well, right? Most of the time, those days, there is a somewhat of a trend that DevOps engineers are coming from the cybersecurity and network admin side, most of the time. But it's debatable yet. Some companies, they are interested to hire some fresh graduate who has first degree in software engineering, then they like to convert them into just DevOps engineer. Then some companies, they are interested in some network specialized student to convert DevOps engineer. It's debatable. Anyhow, if you have the skill, that's totally fine, right? Then the final one, data science, AI, IoT, and I would like to add to their blockchain as well. That is the trending area right now, most of the time. Data science, AI, IoT, because what I say, it's a trending area right now. You all know that. I think from early 90s or late 80s onwards, people are developing softwares. They are using databases, file structures to store data. There are unstructured data as well as structured data. What are the unstructured data? Most of the time in the social media, like videos, audios, images, those are actually unstructured data. And there are structured data as well, like data stored in the relational databases, in the table structure, and things like that. Then we have so many data. Then there are hundreds of thousands of softwares as well. Then there are millions of terabyte, gigabyte of data is there. Then people just want to make the prediction, forecasting, and things like this based on this data with the past experience. That's the place where data science comes into the picture, and machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning. And the IoT is the place where these devices and this knowledge, AI, is connected together, right? Then real time, we are collecting data with these smart devices, and we communicate with the backend artificial intelligence or AI agent. And based on that, we are representing knowledge. Then we are generating new knowledge, and we are predicting, forecasting, and recommending the things with the IoT. And the blockchain, you all know that it's like simply say open ledger system, which means once you are doing the things, if you want to do some transaction or whatever the things in the very much transparent way, you can go with the blockchain, right? There are also so many technologies involving right now. Most of the time, actually, next few decades, not actually few decades, 1 to 2 decades, most of the time 240, most of these money usage, which means notes, there would not be. Right now also, people are doing the transaction most of the time using credit card or debit card. Then the later it would go with the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin or things like that using these blockchains, right? Actually, these are the basic pathways that you have in the IT industry, right? In the IT industry, these basic pathways are there, but there are specialized areas too, right? Then there are hierarchy. Once you are going the steps, you will be see there are much more opportunities. It actually totally depend on your talent, right? Totally depend on your talent, skills, and things like that. Okay. So actually, I got this some of this question. So other than that, if you have any other questions, actually you can raise them as well, right? So I'd like to start with this very first one. What are the fundamental skills that IT undergraduate must have? Since you have put here must have, as actually we discuss it in the third or fourth slide, actually you should be a good communicator. You should be a good presenter. You should be a good team leader. Leader in the sense that team player, sorry, team player. And if you want to go with the fast track and if you want to perform better, you should be a good researcher. Good researcher, which means the IT field, IT industry, updating very frequently. I'll ask a very small question, anyone can answer. Anyone of you know how many JavaScript libraries are available right now in the world? Like jQuery, AngularJS, Vue.js, Express.js. There are many more. Anyone can answer. Do you know how many roughly?
More than 1,000, sir.
Sorry?
More than 1,000.
Not actually more than 1,000. Right now, with my knowledge, altogether, I think 700, almost 700 JS libraries are there. But out of them, how many of we are familiar? We know JavaScript. That's the base, right? That's the parent. Then jQuery we know. Then AngularJS, most of you are familiar. React.js, most of you are familiar. Then Vue.js, Express.js, somewhat. And EJS. There are many more, right? We are using very small thing. Then, for example, this programming language, most of the people know this C, Java, C Sharp, .NET, but there are many more. F Sharp, Ruby right now, it's trending right now. Ruby on Rails, then Go, then the JVM platform like Scala, Kotlin. There are many more. There are companies as well. They are totally dependent on these specific languages. I can remember once I joined some company, I think 2014 or somehow. Actually, I heard this programming language very first time there. After that, I never heard that name. That's called Power Builder. There is a very strong programming language. There was a very strong programming language that's called Power Builder. That's also object-oriented programming language like Java. Very strong one. Very strong one. Every object-oriented properties are there. But after that, I never seen any company they are using this Power Builder. Right now, they are struggling. They are unable to find any developers who knows this programming language called Power Builder. Still, these systems are running very reputed garment industry companies, sorry, garments. So there are, it's very huge distributed system, still running. There is no any other issues. And same way, most of this banking system right now, they are refactoring to new programming language. But I personally know most of these very reputed, very digitized banks, they are using still Oracle forms. The technology came in late 80s, Oracle forms, or early 90s, still use. Still these systems are running. There is no any other issue. That's what I say. So it's totally depend. But my opinion, and I propose, you have to go with the new technologies, new concepts, new theories. You have to refer. That's what I say. You should be a good researcher, right? Then the second question is good for that. What is the significance of finally a project, research project when we get into the industry? How do we choose and choose and perform good research. Um, how do I give an answer for that? Actually, definitely I can say final year research is very good one, whether you are engaging with the industry or whether you are going with the higher studies, right? Research project as well as publication. At least an abstract would be good if you have. The research project, if it is an individual project, better. If it is a group project, you should have good understanding. Definitely question will ask with your final year research project if you are going with the higher studies. It's obvious. But in the research perspective, if you are joining with the industry, most of the time they are not inquiring with your final year project because it is a research based one. But in any circumstances, there are some circumstances. For example, suppose you are joining with a company called like SimCentric. It's okay to say these names because they are basically go with the AI and things like that, right? Then they definitely ask, what's your final year project? What did you do? How do you research them? How did you refer research paper? How do you identify good research paper? How do you convert this concept into the practical scenarios? These kind of questions they will ask. Then my opinion, once you are choosing a research question, there should be a research component, obviously, which means it should be 50-50. There should be a 50% research component as well as there should be somewhat of a implementation, which means product, final outcome. Rather proposing the concept only, it is better to have something to show. Then once you are facing an interview, you can show this is what I implemented. Then subsequently you can say that this is how I implemented it. Oh, this is how we implemented it. These are the concepts. These are the theories that we use. Then the interviewer knows that, right, this person know how to identify the concepts, theories, and how to convert into the practical scenarios, right? That's what I say. You have to showcase your talent. They are not pointing out and asking the question because actually it's those days we also thought of that we thinking that they have only our CV to see, right? Usually, if you get experience in the industry like 5 to 6 years of time, you would be a interviewer, which means like team lead, architect level. Then you will receive the CVs. Then some interviews actually most of the time per day we receive 100 or 150 CVs. In that case, once you are checking the surface of the CVs, and if it is not interested, we just throw it away. Then the CV should be the place where you have to show the key areas that you are capable of. Most of students are mentioning their grade 5 results or O-level results with the grades very lengthy. That's useless because the job description is expecting the graduates. Then if you have a degree, no need to mention this O-level Sinhala, what is O-level Buddha A or whatever. Those are not needed. The things that you needed, you have to mention what is your tertiary education, which means what is your degree, then what are the subjects. If it is better to mention the grade point average as well, GPA, then A-level stream is totally fine. A-level stream you have to mention. Then O-level just 5 A's or 8 A's, 9 A's and things, that's totally fine, right? But there should be a separate section to mention what you have done, what are the project involvements, what is the research component. If you have publication, you have to mention them. Then the project also, once you are mentioning the project, you have to mention small description, not the lengthy one. One small para, you have to mention what is the project and your role. If it is a group project, what is your role and what are the tools and technology stack that you use, right? Then that's the place where interviewer can initiate the interview. And most of students, once they are facing their first interview, then most of the time they are asking, introduce yourself. Then they are saying, my parent is doing this, my younger brother doing that, and things like that. That's what they are not expecting. You have to brief the things which are not available in your CV. And in the CV, another thing, you have to mention extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities, if you have, it's must. Why I said it, they are not expecting to, suppose you are a good cricketer, then you have to mention, I played under 19 cricket, I represent a school team and I was the captain, I represent blah, 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 blah. Then they are not expecting to play cricket again. Anyhow, they know that this person can work with the team. He's a dedicated man. He can do the work simultaneously, which means with the education, he has done sport as well. In that case, he has the capability to do the things parallel. Industry also same. Then you have to work with the multiple project at once. There is no only one project. There are multiple projects. Then you have to work parallelly. Then those are the abilities that you have to showcase. That's what they are expecting once you are working in the societies, once you are representing some events, then you have to say that. Memberships, then they know that you have the capability, you have the capacity to manage yourselves, right? Things like that. Then let's see what is the third one. Is it possible to find our dream job as our first job? For example, if I want to be a machine learning engineer, is it possible to get it's my first? No worries, you can do that. You can do that. Anyhow, the same thing. It's totally depend on you. If you want to be a machine learning engineer, you should have thorough understanding about machine learning concept theories and somewhat of implementation. They know that as the fresh graduate, you don't have industry best practices, coding best practices, and how many line of codes you can type, for example, within the methods. They don't expect such things. Anyhow, it is better to have somewhat of understanding. For example, if it is a machine learning engineer, then they would ask, do you know what is the difference between classification and regression? In that case, you say that, I see, I know that, but I see. In that answers, they are not accepting. That basic thing you should have. This is what classification, this is what regression. Then this is the reinforcement learning. This is the random forest and things like that. You should have very quick answers because these are available, freely available over the internet and YouTube. Once you refer the things, you don't need to learn them in undergraduate period. You can refer them. But if they ask any something like this in the deep learning, there is this kind of algorithm. Do you know how to alter this with this graph theory? Do you know how to alter with this Bayes theorem? These kind of question they never ask from fresh graduate. But once you are going with your ladder, after you having 3 years or 4 years of experience, they definitely ask question like this, right? The answer for this question number 3 is it's totally depend on you. If you want to be a machine learning engineer, you should have thorough understanding on this area. Otherwise, don't just go to that places. That would be harm not only to you, but also your university as well. For example, suppose you are from University A, then you are going to the company A to represent as a machine learning engineer. Then you are performing very low grade. Then that company evaluate your university with your grade as well. In your CV, suppose you have a second upper or first class, then they are talking that, so see this person who come from this university, he has a second upper as well, but once you ask very simple question, they are unable to ask. Then the next time your junior or your colleague or your batchmate say sending the CV, then their mindset is not good. They said, the same university, right? That happened. That happened. I have my personal experience with my superiors. They say like this. I don't like to mention the names. Anyhow, that would happen. That definitely happened. Then it's your responsibility to represent your university, represent your faculty, and earn colors. Right? Okay. Then the number 4, how can Sri Lankan software developers enter the international market of the software industry? For example, how can they get internship and documentation? Google, Microsoft, Amazon. Actually, these companies, I personally know that they are not expecting degrees. They are expecting skills and talented persons. They are not expecting degrees. most of this IT industry, that is other advantage, they are not expecting degrees. Higher national diploma is quite enough. Diploma is quite enough. What they are expecting is whether you are performing the interview, whether you can do the things that they are expecting. They no need to know where did you learn them. That's obvious, right? We no need to check whether you learn from Harvard, whether you learn from Peradeniya, whether you learn from Kelaniya, whether you learn from Japura. It doesn't matter. If you can do the task properly, that's the only thing. Actually, this question is good. Just apply these companies. Then check, see what happened. But don't play around with them. In that case, as I said that earlier, that a university is blacklisted. Likewise, the country would be blacklisted. If you are ready, if you suppose you are ready and you have confidence to face this interview, just apply. Otherwise, don't apply, because it is harmful to the society, which means other graduates, other students, right? Obviously, you can do. I personally know that some student, my batchmates also, they are working not actually Google, but Amazon and Microsoft. They are working there. They got very big salaries. It's obvious, you all also know that. Then they are leisurely work. That's what once we discuss with them, they say that no, they are not expecting any degrees or masters, PhD, anything. But they should have skill and talent, right? I think it would be a reasonable answer for this. Okay. Then question number 5, when searching for a job, most companies seek experience. As a fresh graduate, how can we face those situations? Right. Yes, that's obvious. That happened to me as well. So finding the first job is very difficult. That's obvious, man. It happened every day. It's happened early 2000, mid 2000, then early 220, and even early 230 as well. That would happen. Experience in the sense, I'll share one of my experience. How did I do this? So once I joined the first job, I graduated first degree in the University of Peradeniya, Faculty of Science, right? Then my first job was quality assurance engineer, automation quality assurance engineer at Virtusa, right? I just completed my academics, but I didn't graduate yet. Then there was a job opportunity at Virtusa. I applied several developer jobs, but the same question happened to me. They asking experience and other things. Then Virtusa, they called me, there is a opportunity for what is called software quality assurance. I say, that's fine. Then I went there. Then they gave me a written paper, very small written paper. They asked me to write test cases. There was a scenario, then asked me to write test cases. Then that is the first time I heard this term test case. I even heard it. Then what to do? I suppose what to do. I have to face this. Anyhow, I just write something. I'm not confident. I was not confident on that answer. Anyhow, a person came to my board. Then after half an hour, then he introduced himself as I'm the project manager of this project. Then I said, okay, but I don't know who's the project manager, right? But I say, okay, that's fine. Okay. Then he said that I want to know your knowledge. Then I asked some several IQ questions. I say, okay, fine. Then he asked 2 IQ questions. I can remember these 2 questions yet, right now as well. That's what only he asked. Then I gave the answer for them. Then he said that your answer is correct, wrong for this test, written test. Anyhow, your answer is correct for this oral questions. Then he hired me. After that, I had to learn something called Verifix, a tool called Verifix, because I was deployed MIT, Millennium MIT. Right now it's called LSEG. Then I was working that Millennium MIT, I think more than 1.5 years. Then at that time, I had to learn this tool called Verifix. It is an automation testing tool. In Sri Lanka, no one use it. I just asked my batchmate and other person, they never heard. But Selenium, I learned Selenium as well, JMeet and other things, the performance testing tools. They use, generally they use, but the key tool is very fixed. No one is using. But my dream was to be a developer, not the QA engineer. But I grabbed this opportunity because I want to enter the industry. Then at that time I learned Java again. Then I did OCJP, SCJP, OCJP, and all Java certification things. Then meantime I applied developers opportunities again. Then there was a company called Asia Capital Technologies, right? Then they called me to interview for the developer. Then once I went there. Then once I sit there, then they directly asked, how do you know Verifix? Then I was also surprised. No one at that time, until that, no one asked me this tool. Then I was also surprised. Then I said, Verifix? Yes, Verifix. How do you know Verifix? Do you can code with the Verifix with the developer opportunities and this? Yeah, I said, yes, I can do. After that, I know that he's a local small company who working with this our Colombo stock exchange. Stock market. Then they have a small system which has been developed with the Java. Then they want to test it using this Verifix. That's the only tool that can be deployed to test this stock market systems, right? Real-time trading and everything. Then that's how I became a developer from the QA. That's what I say. We want to grab the opportunities. Once you have to learn something, learn it. Then in the cricket or sports, we say that usually we have to convert half opportunity to the full opportunities, right? That's how you should be smart enough to convert these half opportunities into new opportunities. Then the question number 5, the answer would be, right now you can do that research component and you have to do some projects in the undergraduate level. Then you can showcase, even though you don't have the experience, you have the capabilities. This is my technology stack. These days, suppose you can say, I know React.js, I know Spring Boot, right? I know to develop hybrid mobile application using Flutter. Then they say, wow, if you don't have industry experience, but you have good technology stack, then once they ask question, if you can confidently give the answers, definitely they will hire you. Don't worry with this experience. But on other hand, I can give another example that once I worked the Virtusa, that time actually I was very junior. Then there were very senior guys to me. Then there were 2 person. They are in the senior software engineer level at that time. The one person in 2013, I say in 2013, one person got the salary 70,000. The senior software engineer, and there was another person who's also from the KLN University, then who got 240,000 per month salary in 2013. The same designation. One person gets 70,000, other person get 240,000. More than 3 times. Totally depend on the talent. The other person, that 240,000 earned person, those days who working with these DevOps areas. That's the thing. He identified the opportunities, he trained for it by himself, right? That's what you have to identify the opportunities. Then there will be a definitely huge demand, right? Good. Then the 6, how to step into field of data science and AI. What are the necessary skills? How is the job market for that field in Sri Lanka? In this part, there are 3 parts, right? First one is how to step into the field of data science and AI. Definitely, you should have the background on that. Answer for that is very simple, which means you should have the ability, you should have the conceptual knowledge, theoretical background about data science and artificial intelligence. There is no any doubt, right? The second one, what are the necessary skills? Apart from them, you should have a better mathematical and statistical background. Did you get my point? you should have better mathematical and statistical background, which means in any undergraduate programs, there are mathematics component as well as statistics component, but no one care on that. I know it personally. But data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence totally depend on mathematics, statistics. There are tools in the Azure. Once you freely test it, Azure, there are multiple things. You can drag and drop and perform some machine learning models, right? Those are just cut and paste or copy and paste. But if you want to be a real data scientist or artificial intelligence engineer, you should have good understanding on mathematics as well as statistics. That second part, what are the necessary skills apart from machine learning and data science concepts, right? Then the final part, how is the job market for that field is in Sri Lanka? Comparatively, I give an answer for this time being, for the time being, right? At this current time, there is not much. I would say it, there is no much, but there are opportunities because right now companies are moving to this area. There are opportunities, but comparatively, the software engineering or QA engineering tracks, there it is less. But there are opportunities and it's highly paid as well. Because I was the head of the data science and assistant vice president of Softlogic Life prior to joining the senior lecturer category. Then there were a team, and they are also, I am the one who formed this data science team, and they are also moving to this data science area. They are right now forming very big team in data science area, and there are several companies, there are a number of companies, right? They are right now moving to this data science area, especially startups. It's then the job market is booming right now. It's gradually increasing right now. Compared with the software engineering, still it's lesser. Anyhow, in 5 years of time, there would be a better opportunities for data scientists. But if you want to be a data scientist, if you have a first degree, it is better to continue your masters or other areas with the mathematical and statistical way, right? There are definitely data science master's degrees as well, then you can follow them as well. Otherwise, you can refer by yourself. That's how I learned method, what is called data science. In those days, there was no such a called data science or whatever. Anyhow, I learned it myself through these research papers, YouTube, and there are many more reading materials and subject materials, right? Not like those days, we don't want to go this library and reading books, and but once you type over the internet in the on the browser, you can see hundred of thousands of reference. But be careful, once you are referring something, it should be a good paper or article. It should be a assurance, it should have some assurance, right? Otherwise don't refer them. Okay. Then number 7, what are the challenges that an undergraduate might have to face when shifting from a studying environment to working environment? How did you face it? Actually, there is a gap. From undergraduate period to industry, there is definitely gap. Anyhow, that industry person also knows that. Then they are not forcing you much. That what actually this undergraduate program also, you have this internship period, right? That is the place where you can minimize this gap. But in the internship also, that this IT professional, the people who are in the industry, they are not assigned much workload to interns. But you can look around what happened, how other persons work, how other people interact each other. Then this gap can be minimized. Another thing is you should have good background about these projects. You should have some project, which means it is not like a small project like desktop application or whatever. Anyhow, you should have good technology stack, right? Then this studying environment you can convert to working environment very easily. And you should not stop your studying once you are engaged with the industry as well. That is the other part. Most of the students, once they have got job, then you just get 50,000 or 60,000 salary, You all think that, okay, that's fine, that's all. No, that is not all. You should have to do masters. You have to gain experience, because after 5 to 7 years of time without having masters, the next step difficult, like architect level or any other levels. You should have somewhat of a master's degree as well. Otherwise you can go there, but the reputation is low. Suppose you are architect, you have only first degree, but there is a senior software engineer who has a master's. Then there's some issue, right? There's some conflict. I say in Sri Lanka, but in the most other countries that doesn't happen. But if you are thorough with your academic background, parallelly to this industry experience, no one can harm you. No one can stop you, right? Then going them parallelly, it's quite okay. Then just completing masters, nothing to worry, right? Even you are interested in the master of MPhil or PhD or even DSc, you can go that ladder, but it is not mandatory, right? Then the question number 7, the answer is you have to complete your internship interactively. That is the very first thing, right? Very first thing. Then other research project as well as other mini project or whatever the project, you have to complete them. Then you can get somewhat of a technology stack. After that, you can minimize the gap between this undergraduate period to industry, right? I'm not saying you can totally uh, or zero this gap, but you can minimize it, right? Good. So question number 8, when we are working in the IT industry, can we shift from one path to another in case our passion change? Definitely, you can do. With my experience, as I say, I was a QA engineer, then I was a Java developer, then I was a mobile application developer, then was a data scientist. Right now, I'm a senior lecturer. And actually, you have to change your passion with the trend, with the requirement, with the what industry is expecting, what the society is expecting. You have to change. Otherwise, you are unable to win this game. You have to idle. I know some persons, as I say, that power builder company. There was a person called Darshikaya. We call him Darshikaya. He, I think he had been that company when I joined there. I think, almost 18 years in the same company. Still, he is there. He can't go anywhere. He just know the power build only. Then the management say, I fire you. They ask, no, 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 don't fire me, don't fire me, I'll stay. And if they ask some salary increasement, they say, no, no, we are not increasing your salary, you have to stay. Then he has to stay. That's it. Question number 8, you have to do it. You have to change your track. You don't need to be a developer for long. You don't need to be a QA engineer. You don't need to be a data scientist. Because right now we know these track. In the next few years, there can be another like augmented reality. It's coming. Then there will be engineers for this. Then that game development area. Right now it's somewhat trendy, but in Sri Lanka there is no much trend. They just use this Unity 3D or whatever the things like JavaScript track and things. These are not game development especially, but in the world there are opportunities, but that area also you should have got better understanding about mathematics, that 3D visualization, vectorization, and things like that, right? So apart from these questions, you can raise any other question. As I say, it's open discussion. You can ask question, then I'll share my knowledge, my experience, and my thoughts with you, right? You can ask any question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for that informative session. Actually, the answers you have given us really helpful for us to make our career journey. And I hope the audience also grabbed the maximum out of the session. So, this is the since this was the end of the presentation, it is time to clear all your doubts. So audience, feel free to unmute yourself and ask any question, or else you can drop your questions in the chat box as well.
If you have any doubt, any clarification, just raise them. We can discuss. I hope you all are final year or about to graduate, right?
There are second year, third year, and final year students as well, sir.
Okay, right. Then I can advise these second year, third year students, especially, then work with the projects, engage with your lecturers and your seniors, because right now you have your seniors who are engaging in the industry right now. I think at least industry placement, which means internship. Discuss with them, engage with the projects. That's the place where you can minimize this gap and you can improve your knowledge, because once we are learning the things, it's easy. You know that, right? In the A-level classes, if you have any maths background, suppose if you have any formula to solve, once we try to solve it, very difficult. But sir is drawing it in the board and solving it, then I see, yeah, it's very easy, right? That's how we thought, right? That's what say. Once we are implementing the things, once we are using the practical scenarios, that's the place where we are facing the difficulties. Then that's the place where we have to think, how do we use this theoretical concept, the things that we learn into these practical scenarios, right? I think most of you are from the ICT background, right? IT background, most of you.
Yes, sir.
Then you all know these data structures, right? Most of you have
Yes.
learned data structures. Then if I ask any application in the real world application of the data structures, most of you are unable to think. For example, this suppose in the browser, web browser, in the back button, once we click on the back button, do you think that what is the data structure that we use there? How many data structures that we are familiar, like queue, stack, heap structure, digital tree, 2, 3, 4 trees, splay trees. There are many more, right? Can you imagine what is the data structure that we use to this back button? There is a data structure that Google browser and any other browser use. We want to get the recent history. Then what is the data structure where we can use to keep the recent history on the top? Have you ever think? It's only one instance. That's what I say. To be a software engineer, you should have a good understanding about theoretical concepts. How do we convert this theoretical concept into the practical scenario? That's the place where we have to achieve, so that you will be able to high paid developer or high paid engineer, right? Within 2 to 3 years of time. There are many tracks. You can go, if you want to go with the fast track, you should be definitely a researcher. Then within 5 to 6 years of time, you can reach whatever the level that you are expecting. Then you can continue your career leisurely. Otherwise, most of people, what they are doing is their early career, they are doing nothing. But once they are married, then they have children, then late 30s or early 40s, they try to work. But at that time, they don't have energy. They don't have time. They don't have enough resources to continue their higher studies or whatever the research component or whatever. But in the early, which means before 30, middle 30, you can continue this. After that, you can continue your life, career very leisurely. It's just advice with my experience, right? I think in chat box, there are some question.
So, sir, let me read out them for you.
Sure.
Yeah, so there is a question. What are the responsibilities of a system designer?
System designer in the sense, user interface designer that you are expecting. Person who's raised this question, because they are system designer in the sense, the term is little bit vague for me. System designer. What are the responsibilities of the system designer? Nadun, did you raise this question? Who did raise this question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I
you mean,
refer to those servers and
right. That's what, right? So in that case, actually, you are expecting responsibilities of the system designer, right? For example, suppose it is a cloud environment, right? There are two types, basically three types. It could be a cloud environment, on-premise environment, or hybrid, right? So it is based on the requirement, it totally depends. For example, in Sri Lanka, there is a regulation, basically the central bank and other things, that banking domain system should be reside inside Sri Lanka. We are unable to migrate data from Sri Lanka to other countries. In that case, we have to go with this. If we want to go with the cloud environment, what we have to go with the hybrid approach. In that case, data centers we have to keep inside the Sri Lanka, but application and other things has to be run in the cloud. It could be a Singapore region or German region, Ireland region, whatever. Right? Application can be run in India. In the system designing phase, that's a phase where you have to think. Very first thing, whether it's a system designing or application designing or whatever the things, client requirement. First thing is client requirement. The second one is budget. Other thing is budget. In the Sri Lanka, that's the key component. Rather than the requirement, budget. They have very small, lesser budget, but they are expecting that Azure workstations, right? That's the place. Yeah, the second thing. In that case, you should be smart enough and you should have good understanding about these concepts, which means how do we utilize them, right? How do we utilize them in the proper way? For example, suppose if you are playing a DevOps engineer role, then how do we utilize these cloud infrastructures? For example, if you go with the AWS, how do we go with the suppose Kubernetes? Then what are the EKS? How do we implement EKS? Then how do we go with the Apache Kafka or Apache Spark? Whether we are using it, then how would be the cost for that? Then how do we minimize the cost? And you have to justify why do you want to use them simply. Otherwise, client reject it or your senior management reject it. Definitely, once you are proposing the things, sir, or Aya, or whatever these are the things that I want. I want this much of is2 instances. Then this was of a elastic bucket, which means S3 instances. And I want this much of databases. Then they definitely ask why. In that case, you should have clear justification. So based on that, you have to design the system, right? Basic thing is a requirement. Other one is the budget. And the third one is your talent and your knowledge about these utilities. Based on that, you have to design your system, right? Did I answer your question?
sir. Thank you.
Okay. Do we
Yes.
have... Yes, go ahead. Shamindri, do we have other
Yeah.
question?
Yeah. There is another question. How about IoT or DevOps field in Sri Lanka? Will it be worth to join those kinds of field?
Yes, exactly. Exactly, it's because IoT, there are a number of companies. Now, a number of companies, it's startups especially, because right now people are working with this IoT. There are definitely opportunities compared with data science area. IoT, there are much more opportunities, and it is better to use because if you are engaged with the IoT developer, you should have the background about machine learning and data science as well. Then it would be a parallel job. Then it's good, right? Then IoT, definitely there are opportunities. And what is the other part?
Will it be worth to join those kind of
Yeah,
fields?
IoT and other fields, Samantri. There were two, I think.
DevOps.
Right, DevOps, yes.
DevOps.
Yes. DevOps are also right now trending. Right? It would be actually DevOps in the sense developer and operation, which means those days, as I say, previously there were developers, isolated team, and the implementation engineers. Those are the people who engage with this deployment process. But right now, DevOps comes into the picture. Then the development as well as this automation part to deploy the system can be done at once. Then DevOps is very trending area, but you should have a better understanding about software implementation, which means software engineering, as well as somewhat of a knowledge about network side. Because for example, how do we configure VPC? How do we configure VPN? How do we set up a security group? How do we make the shake hands? And how do we encrypt the data? These kind of stuff also need to know. And data backups, data security, information security, then the authentication perspectives, firewall setups, those are the network side. Once it comes to software engineering side, you should have knowledge about this Dockers, Kubernetes, how do you set up then, how do you create the pipeline using this Jenkins, and how do we configure remote repositories, how do we manage multiple data centers. This kind of comes with this software engineering track. Then how do you debug the automatically, how do we make the hot fix, how do we do this branching, how do we make this cherry pick. There are so many terms, right? So how do we perform these kind of areas? Then basically I can say you should have good understanding about software engineering as well as somewhat of knowledge about networking. But you can learn them, right? If you have first degree in the ICT or IT or computer science area, definitely you can continue your career as a DevOps engineer. There is no any doubt, right? Good.
Yeah, so I think he got a better idea about it. So the next question is there any memberships which can help us to get an exposure in the industry?
Membership in the sense like Computer Society of Sri Lanka or BCS membership, is that he's expecting? What kind of a membership? There are various categories. Mm, who's the person? The person who raised this question, can you unmute yourself?
Uh,
MBCS. Yes,
I
yes. Yeah. Yamika, right? Yes, this MBCS, MI these are actually membership. You should, it's better to have, but not mandatory. Because this MBCS, if you have first degree, you can apply for this MBCS, and if you have more than 5 years of experience, you can go directly the professional category. Then if you have more than 10 years of experience, you can go with the fellow category. Then same thing in the Computer Society of Sri Lanka and things like that. It actually, it would be added advantage once you're applying for the foreign job, because they know that if you get in these affiliations or membership from a reputed organization, that it is saying indirectly that you have somewhat of a level and you are reputed by the organization. Like you have a degree. Once you have a degree, people you say that he is a graduate, which means he has somewhat of a knowledge compared with others. Same way. Similarly, if you have membership, you have been reputed, which means it would be a added benefit to your CV once you mention these what is called memberships in your CV, or once you're applying for a job, it would be added advantage. Definitely, it's better to get it, but not mandatory, but it's quite okay, right?
Yes. So there is another question. How could general degree undergraduates do a research project since it is not included in their degree
Yes,
program?
that's actually problem. That's what I say, two component. First one is you have to engage with the projects and the research, second option. Actually, that's what I say, that the research component basically focuses for the higher studies. And if you are smart to combine with the product implementation, it would be an added advantage. That's what I said in the initially, that at the beginning of this session, the research component is good, and it should be better if you have implementation component as well. But in the general degrees, that 3-year degrees, they don't have this. But definitely there should be a project, right? Any degree, any ICT degree, IT related degree, I personally know that most of degree there should be, right, at least 2 projects you can engage with, right? That a subject module, or there could be a separate dedicated module for that. Either way, there is, then that's the place where you have to use it. And And on other aspect, you have other advantage as well, because you are passing out or you are completing your degree 1 year prior to your batchmates. Then what you can do is you can just start your masters. Then you can do the research component. Then your friends passing out 4 years. Then at the same time, you are middle of your masters as well. Once you are completing your batchmates, your first degree, you can complete your masters even. Don't think in the worst case all the time, right? Then think about the positive aspect as well. Then if you have a general degree, just start your masters. Then in 2 years of time, what is the difference? The specialized student, they comes with the 4 year degree, but in the 2 years of time, they have 1 year experience with the 4 year degree, but you have 2 year experience with masters. That is the value added advantage, right? Think in that manner. Everything has two sides, not two sides actually, many more sides, right? Don't think in the narrow way. There are much more opportunities. Don't worry. Okay, right. Any other questions, Amrika?
Yes, sir. Yeah. How good is the demand and job market in the area of mixed reality, and what are the skills and concepts that we should know to pursue a career in mixed reality?
Mixed reality. Actually, I am not much familiar with that area, right? So because I have experience in the software engineering, data science, artificial intelligence and area, I think mixed reality in the sense augmented reality side, that multimedia side, right? If I am correct, because I do not have experience on that area. So, but that augmented reality and other things, most of the time there are opportunities. Right now in Sri Lanka, there is no much, right? But there will be definitely. Then learning these kind of stuff would not be vain. You can learn them, but it's totally depend on your career path, whether you are expecting and whether you have very short term objective to be completed. Then you have to think other path as well. But actually, personally, I am unable to give a clear answer for that because I am not expert at that area. Right? Sorry for that, actually.
Yeah, so there is another question, sir. How do we get into the embedded system development and robotics field? Normally, these subjects are not much taught in the university. Also, are there enough opportunities in Sri Lanka?
Robotics and embedded systems. Opportunities perspective, it's less, right? It's less, I can say it. But teaching in the sense, there are universities, they are teaching this robotics and things. I don't know who raised this question, that some universities they don't teach them. Anyhow, some universities they are teaching. For example, that Dapur University, we have our technology faculty, robotics and other things they are teaching, right? That Open University, there is a mechatronics, and the Peradeniya University, mechatronics, they are teaching robotics especially. There are, and opportunities level in Sri Lanka, obviously I can see there is less, right? There is less in the sense you are unable to perform what the things that you are interested in. They are saying that they are performing robotics and things like that. Anyhow, uh, they are just using RPO, whatever. They don't have much areas to be investigated, right? So then I think opportunities perspective, if you are following this area, it would be go to foreign country rather stay in Sri Lanka. But in the 5 years, I don't think in 5 years of time there would be a much opportunity. But in the intentionally, there is a huge demand, especially Korea, South Korea, and Japan, China, Germany. I know personally my friend, they are working there, and Switzerland and Scandinavian countries, especially Canada, there are opportunities, especially German, South Korea, Japan, and China, and especially Taiwan right now. Taiwan is also going, and Vietnam. They also have these opportunities, but Sri Lanka, I don't see much opportunities for these areas, right?
Yeah, I think he got a better idea about it, sir. So, audience, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, you can unmute yourself and raise your question.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead, Nandu.
When we start mobile application development learning, which way is better, sir? Starting with a hybrid application development or native application development? Which one is better to start learning?
To start the learning, hybrid application is good, but native application, for example, Android, there is a high demand, iOS as well, but comparatively opportunities are less, but income wise too high. There are very less iOS developers, native developers. They are very demanding, right? But there is a thread, right? But there is a thread because this hybrid application coming into the picture very fast in early 2013 or 12. There was called Cordova hybrid application development. Then prior to that, PhoneGap. Then comes Cordova. Then comes Ionic. Right now, you all are familiar with this Flutter, right? Then hybrid approach is coming very fast, and they are grabbing the industry very fast because in the cost perspective, it's very low cost, right? Because that's I say that that previous question. Sorry.
So I think someone is interrupting.
Okay.
Uh,
Right.
is it
Hello. Am I audible? Nadun, am I audible? Samindri?
Yes,
Anyone?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. What I am saying is basically that's hybrid approach cost effective because companies they are expecting to cater the client requirement with the minimal cost. That is their requirement, right? But some clients they are definitely asking, I want to this implementation with the native Android or native iOS. In that case, we have to go with that. But the answer for your question, Nadun, as an undergrad, it is better to start with the hybrid application. Then you can simulate the environment. Android environment you can simulate, iOS environment you can simulate. Those days we have BlackBerry as well. Right now BlackBerry is not more available. But this basically too, I think Windows is it available now? Those days Windows available, then it's vanished again. Now it's not available, right? Right. Then Android and iOS, both things you can practice. But I should say some kernel functionalities we are unable to simulate using this hybrid approach. And in the Android perspective, most of the time these Android kernels are different. For example, some operating system which has been developed, which has been developed Vietnam, some of them Singapore, some of them Cambodia, some of them China, some of them Korea. Then there are some deviations. But in the iOS perspective, there is only one kernel, only Apple that's perform. Then it's somewhat easy, but in the UI perspective, it's little bit difficult. The compatibility issues are there. But once you go with the native application development, these compatibility issues are very less. But as a summary, I can say the starting place with the hybrid application is very good, right?
Yeah, uh, I think Nadun got an idea about it. So, audience, do you have any more questions? You can unmute yourself and ask it.
Right. It seems everyone is happy, I think.
Yes,
So,
seems like there are no more questions. So thank you all for your questions, and I hope you all clarified your doubts as well. So this is the end of the session, and we have come to the end of the session. And I would like to invite our dearest member, Chamatka Timbripola, to deliver the word of thanks. Chamatka, it's over to you.
Thank you, Shamindri. Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I'm honored and lucky to have this opportunity to give away the word of thanks on this special event today. And first of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to Mr. Eroshan Aberatna, the senior lecturer of University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, for supplementing us with this sea of knowledge and for finding time for us in between your very busy schedule, sir. And I hope our audience got the answers that they were looking for. And so thank you once again for that very informative and interesting session. And then I'm thankful to all the enthusiastic participants for your presence here today, because without you, this event won't be a success. And moreover, my heartfelt thanks to all the members of the organizing committee for organizing such an amazing and valuable event. Well done, you deserve it all. Also, I would like to take this moment to appreciate the tremendous support of our executive board that always guides us through the campaign. Finally, to all the LED KLN members and everyone else behind this event today, I thank you all and hope you will keep supporting us throughout Business School 2022. Last but not least, don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done, because a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. Best of luck with the upcoming battle. Thank you very much.
right. 1 minute. Actually, that event is very good. That's what you have to do as undergrads. You should do this. Actually, very good event. Continue this, and there is no any restriction as a university levels. Even though I am from Japro University, if you have any issue, any collaboration, any help, just contact me. I think Nazim has my contact number and email as well. Just reach me. So it's actually very good that collaborate all the universities, not only government universities, private universities also you can collaborate. I don't know whether it's right now also you have collaborated with them. Anyhow, it's very good. So final information I should give you. Actually, I thought of giving this. I was unable to give it. The recent statistics in Sri Lanka, we have conducted a survey. The IT professional demand per year is 12,000 in Sri Lanka. Right now, by 2020, 12,000 IT graduates are needed per year. But all government universities and private universities all together producing only 4,500 students, graduates per year. There is more than 7,000 lakh, right? Then you all are right now in very valuable field, not only in the Sri Lanka, but also in whole world, right? Then this is the place where as a country you can earn more money to Sri Lanka. You all know that right now Sri Lanka is struggling with this dollar issue, right? Then you all are the people earn more money, contribute to the Sri Lanka, right? This is our mother country. Then you all have big responsibility as graduates, right? You all are very small population, right? In the grade one, there were almost 1 million student go to the first year, which means grade one. Then O levels, I think 5 lakhs. In the A levels, almost 2 lakhs pass the examination. Then only 40,000 right now enter to the university. Then suppose you are very small subset, then you all are the knowledgeable persons in Sri Lanka, right? Others are not knowledgeable. I'm not saying like that, but you all are the spirit. Then you all have big responsibility, right? Don't just think to earn 20,000 or going teaching and doing something and things like that, right? You all have big responsibility, right? Do that. That's what actually I personally come from my industry to the university to share my knowledge and do my responsibility, right? Then you all have your own responsibility, right? So we can do something to this nation as well, right? Think that one as well. Actually, it's very good initiative, very good. I really appreciate. right? And if you all want further support from my side, I'll do that one as well. Okay. Thank you very much. Good night and good future for you all. Right. See you then.
Thank you very much, sir, once again. And I hope our participants got something inspirational for their career journey as well. So now it is your responsibility to get equipped with all the information and show what you have learned in the upcoming sessions as well. Hope to see all your faces in the upcoming sessions, and have a good night and stay safe.
Same.
Thank you.